Good evening. Our top story tonight, Justin Herbert is done for the rest of the season with a broken finger. Tyreek Hill suffered an ankle injury. It looks like it's a high ankle sprain. He should be done for the fantasy football playoffs. We will see if Tyreek Hill actually skips all 3 games of the fantasy football playoffs. He is a warrior, but it's not looking good. It is not looking good if you've got Justin Herbert. Tyreek Hill, who has carried you so far, not looking good. But looking good for Will Levis, looking good for teams entering the playoffs. We've got lots of teams still in competition. The 49ers, the only team to clinch so far. Only 2 teams eliminated from the playoff picture officially. So we've got all that and much, much more on Player Profiler today. And unfortunately, we will start things off with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is done for the season after undergoing surgery to repair his broken index finger on his throwing hand. As you know, the index finger is what throws the ball. It is the final finger on the ball, causes the spin, responsible for a lot of the torque, the rotation, and Justin Herbert done for the year with the broken finger. Surgery happened today, successful surgery, so love to hear that. But for the rest of the season, it's going to be Easton Stick, or at least he's going to get the first crack at the job. Easton Stick is the guy that actually preceded Trey Lance. Maybe he followed. Yeah, I forget at this point. It is all a blur. No, he would have preceded. So Easton Stick was Trey Lance. Before Trey Lance, he was either drafted late by the Chargers or an undrafted free agent. I think he was drafted. Again, it's all a blur because Easton Stick just sat for his entire rookie contract behind Justin Herbert, behind Chase Daniel. And we never really got to see what Easton Stick is, who he is, what he can do. We know he's athletic. Easton Stick can run, but we'll see what he does, especially because he might be without Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen did not practice Monday, did not practice Tuesday. He's got a heel injury, so Keenan Allen officially questionable, but you know it's Keenan Allen. He is a warrior. Hopefully, he will play. Hopefully, we will see Keenan Allen catching passes from Easton Stick. We'll practice in today. He is good to go. He is back. Gerald Everett limited with a hip injury. So, honestly, I don't know what to tell you. We will find out a lot more about Easton Stick this week. Brandon Staley can officially say goodbye to the Chargers job. Just 3 wasted seasons with Justin Herbert. And the Chargers very well could be picking top 10. The backup for Easton Stick going forward going to end up being Max Duggan. Max Duggan, you'll remember, was in the Heisman conversation last year with TCU when they beat Michigan Wolverines, went to the college football championship, got Quentin Johnston, probably overdrafted, but Max Duggan also cut by the Chargers after training camp. They did not worry that they would lose Max Duggan to waivers, Duggan, and he doesn't. He ends up staying on the team, going back to the practice squad. He's signed to the active roster now, and he will be the backup for Justin Herbert. Now, as for Tyreek Hill, we will get to Tyreek Hill in just a moment. But before we do, we've got a word from the Podfather.
DFS getting harder every year, but we're here to make it easier with the DFS Dominator because I know a lot of optimizers keep coming out. Oh, our optimizer. What about this optimizer? But that optimizer. Well, we have a cash game optimizer that leverages the projections from Dario, Billy, the award-winning projections at PlayerProfiler.com, and builds the best lineups for cash games that have both upside and because that's what you want. It's a couple clicks, boom, boom, boom. You get the best possible lineup for your cash games. But for tournaments, traditional optimizers don't work. That's why we have a Lineup Genius, which takes you through the process of building lineups the way they should be built. Which quarterbacks you want to be overweight on, then building stacks, then setting run backs, then optimizing, and generating up to 150 lineups that you can easily import into DraftKings, into FanDuel. That's the DFS Dominator. It's only $45 a year, not a week. A year. Just go to Player Profiler, click on the DFS Dominator from the menu, and you won't be sorry. Hey, we're all starting new fantasy leagues all the time. And more often than not, where do we start our fantasy leagues at Player Profiler? On Sleeper. Because it's the best. You can imagine my excitement when I saw Sleeper rolled out. Sleeper picks, baby. And game stacking is the path to positive returns with these pick'em games. Find that sneaky shootout and set most of the players to go over their projection for that week. Or you find a game going to get dragged into the mud and take every member of the passing game for less than their projections that week. And if you pick up to 8, that's how you 100x your payout on Sleeper. It's called the Hail Mary. So if you use promo code Underworld, you get a $100 instant deposit match. Check out Sleeper's terms and conditions for details. These Sleeper picks are live in over 25 states. Yeah, buddy.
We are back, and unfortunately, Tyreek Hill, the probably deserving MVP of the season, looked like he was going to go for 2,000 yards. Now, we'll see. Because Tyreek Hill is officially day-to-day with an ankle injury, and he already had an ankle injury. And then he goes through a high ankle mechanism. And the reason I say mechanism is we haven't officially been confirmed by the Dolphins that it is a high ankle sprain. But the way the injury happened, the inversion sprain. So there's there's two different types of sprains. There's one where you roll your ankle in. Those are pretty normal. That's a low ankle sprain. The high ankle sprain is when you roll your ankle outwards. And that is more severe, and that is the mechanism we saw for Tyreek Hill. We have no way of knowing if it's a high ankle sprain or not. We don't have access to his MRIs. This is just what we've seen. And so Tyreek Hill very well could end up missing the next couple of weeks. A high ankle sprain, as we've talked about repeatedly on this show, is a 4-week injury where you should be out for 4 weeks. Now, Trevor Lawrence ignored that and came back immediately. Didn't play too well, but came back immediately. And maybe Tyreek Hill will try to push through it. Maybe he'll try to play through it. But what we have seen historically is that wide receivers and running backs are different. They miss at least 2 games. Typically, they'll miss 3 games. And then that 4th game, if they do come back early, even if they come back for that 3rd game, those 3rd and 4th games are severely limited. And then even after that, even after those 4 weeks where the injury that you should sit out, the 5th week, the 6th week, you are still operating at less than 100%. And so Tyreek Hill, I do not expect you will have him for round 1 of the fantasy football playoffs. I hope you'll have him for round 2 because Tyreek Hill is a warrior, but I'm not expecting it. And then hopefully Tyreek Hill comes back for the fantasy football championship, but can you trust him being hampered by a high ankle sprain? I mean, of course, you're going to roll with Tyreek Hill, but it just doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. Sucks because Tyreek Hill was going to hit 2,000 yards, and now the ankle injury probably means that he is not going to, and Tyreek Hill hopefully comes back soon, but not looking like he's going to be the MVP. In the meantime, without Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle is obviously the wide receiver 1. He goes for 79 yards on 6 grabs. Tyreek Hill, by the way, 61 yards on 4 receptions. And then the wide receiver 2 actually ends up being Devon Achane. Cedric Wilson, 2 receptions for 30 yards, but Achane, 9 targets, actually leads the team, 5 receptions, second on the team, and 7 carries, 47 yards for Devon Achane. So 71 yards on 12 touches, but wide receiver 2 is a loose term for Devon Achane because the receptions that he got were very, very schemed up. They were screens, they were like swing passes, things like that, where you knew immediately they were going to get the ball in Devon Achane's hands. They'd line him up at wide receiver and he'd run an end around, things like that. And it was beautiful to see. But Devon Achane, unfortunately, a gadget player in this contest. We do see Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert is a workhorse. Raheem Mostert is the between the tackles runner, 21 carries to just 7 for Devon Achane, 96 yards and 2 TDs for Raheem Mostert, 100 yards on the day from scrimmage, and 18 routes for Raheem Mostert as well, 23 for Devon Achane. I would have expected far more routes for Devon Achane given the receptions, but again, he was being schemed. He was being used as a gadget player, and he just kept looking like he was ready to break one, and maybe Maybe if the Dolphins do more with Devon Achane, maybe they end up winning that game thanks to his explosive ability. But Tua Tagovailoa looks pretty pedestrian without Tyreek Hill. 70% completion rate, but no touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but 2 turnover-worthy plays. Tua, not the same quarterback without Tyreek Hill. And we saw that early in his career. We had hoped that given the upgrade around him, even with Tyreek Hill, Tua was turning a corner. We'll see how the rest of the season goes for the Miami Dolphins. There is a world where they lose out and miss the playoffs. I do not expect that to happen. They're still the 2 seed right now, but stranger things have happened, especially because now they're going to be without their center, Connor Williams. Connor Williams tore his ACL. Liam Eichenberg steps in for the game. Not good at all. Wasn't good earlier in the season when he stepped in for Williams as well. Now there's a chance Lester Cotton, who's currently their right guard, kicks inside to center eventually, but got to stay at right guard right now because Robert Hunt still unlikely to play, hoping to get Teron Armstead back. But Tua behind a patchwork offensive line without Tyreek Hill. That's how you blow a fourth quarter lead to the Tennessee Titans, something we had never seen before. Down 14 points with 3 minutes left. Will Levis is the real deal. And all game, we get to see Will Levis making plays. He's wheeling, he's dealing. Even when he throws the interception, it's a screen. Those kind of things happen sometimes. It's a mistake. I'm willing to overlook it because, he's a rookie quarterback. We call a screen. I'm just throwing the screen, even though I shouldn't, because there's obviously a guy there, but it just happens. Chalk it up to youth. He'll learn. He won't make that mistake again. And he has 3 big-time throws in this game. 60.5% completion rate, 327 yards, and a touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins, by the way, 124 yards on 7 receptions, 12 targets, and he's feeling good. DeAndre Hopkins has his own little Geno Smith, they wrote me off and I didn't write back rant. It feels great, especially all the teams that wrote me off, said I wasn't good, no good. I can't get open. This offseason seemed like everybody said F you, and I'm just getting better. So shout out DeAndre Hopkins. Love to see him balling out with Will Levis, the gunslinger, and love to see Derrick Henry join some elite Hall of Fame company. Derrick Henry, absolutely a Hall of Famer. This is his 6th season with 10+ touchdowns on the ground. And that's the 6th time that's happened. The 6th running back to score 10+ rushing touchdowns in 6 seasons. Joins a list featuring LaDainian Tomlinson, Hall of Famer. Emmitt Smith, Hall of Famer. Barry Sanders, Hall of Famer. Marcus Allen, Hall of Famer. Adrian Peterson, going to be a Hall of Famer very soon. He's going to be a first ballot when he is eventually eligible. Derrick Henry, number 6. Derrick Henry going to the Hall of Fame. And his backup looks pretty good as well. Tajay Spears, 7 carries for 29 yards, 4.1 yards per carry. That's better than Henry, averaging 2 yards per carry. Derrick Henry, only 51 yards on 18 touches, not particularly effective. But it's what Tajay Spears does as a receiver. He's the wide receiver too. And Tajay Spears is actually a big part of the comeback for the Tennessee Titans. They just kept checking it down, letting him run 6 receptions for 89 yards by the running back because they were in prevent mode. They were saying, okay, we'll give up the underneath. Can't get beat for a big play. And then Tajay Spears just picks up another 10 yards, another 15 yards, another 20 yards. Tajay Spears is the real deal. Next year, Derrick Henry's going to be gone. He's a free agent. Don't know where he'll land, but the Tennessee Titans are going to ride Tajay Spears. He is going to be a league-winning type of talent. Now, the other game that we saw, the Green Bay Packers embarrassed by the New York Giants, almost come back, but then they lose to Dandy DeVito, Tommy DeVito. 81% completion, 158 yards, touchdown, 71 yards rushing as well. Dandy DeVito, Tommy DeVito. I love that nickname, by the way. Dandy DeVito. Might just call him Dandy from now on. But 71 yards, running the read option, running some QB sweeps. Tommy DeVito, the real deal. He's going to be the starter once again. He's now 3-1 as a starter, which is funny because with Daniel Jones, the Giants were 1-5. Tommy DeVito has 9 touchdowns. Daniel Jones had 3. Just makes you think. Saquon Barkley, by the way, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns as well. You're welcome if he got you to the Fantasy Football Championship. Wan'Dale Robinson, by the way, 6 receptions, 2 carries, 115 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson looking like the wide receiver 1 for the New York Giants. And then there's the Green Bay Packers. Jaden Reed, wide receiver 1 for the Green Bay Packers. 10 targets, catches 8 of them, only 27 yards, but has 4 carries, 38 yards, and a touchdown, 65 yards, and a TD on the day, plus 8 receptions. Jaden Reed, oh, he's going to be a star. He's going to be the wide receiver one over Christian Watson. Romeo Doubs, 32 yards, 7 targets, 4 receptions. Romeo Doubs going to be phased out of this offense. Dontavian Wicks will eventually replace Romeo Doubs as the wide receiver 3. Unfortunately, he leaves this game early with an ankle injury. And we don't see any Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake signed off the practice squad, and he doesn't play a single snap. Patrick Taylor, A.J. Dillon running without Aaron Jones. But that will take us to the playoffs. With the Packers' loss, the San Francisco 49ers become the first team to clinch in the playoffs. Niners, currently the 1 seed. Cowboys, the 2, after beating the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Lions sitting there in the 3 seed. Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 4th seed, currently leading the NFC South, but they're sitting there at 6-8. The Vikings are there at 7-6, but the Vikings are behind the Bucs in seeding because the Bucs are the division champions right now. But the Bucs are right there with the Falcons, who are also 6-7, and the Saints, who are also 6-7. But it's not only them in the NFC South that are all sitting there at 6-7. Anyone could win that division. Any one of those teams could make the playoffs too, because like I said, Vikings 7-6, Packers, Rams, Seahawks, Falcons, Saints, all sitting there. 5 teams sitting there at 6-7. We've got the Giants and Bears at 5-8. They're still in playoff contention, and still the Commanders and Cardinals actually haven't been eliminated. 4-9 for the Commanders, 3-10 for the Cardinals. Only the Carolina Panthers have been eliminated from playoff contention. Now, I don't know who those final 2 seeds are going to go to, the 6 and 7, whether it's the Vikings, the Packers, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Falcons, Saints, the Giants, the Bears. Could be any one of them, technically. It's going to be a fun run down the stretch. As in the AFC, Ravens, number 1 seed. The Dolphins had the chance to pass the Ravens, but they lose to the Titans. Dolphins still number 2 at 9-4. The Chiefs, Jags, and Browns are all at 8-5. Chiefs are the 3 seed. Jags the 4. Browns the 5. And then at the 6 seed, it's the Steelers. 7 seed is the Colts. But like in the NFC, the Steelers, the Colts, the Texans, the Broncos, the Bengals, the Bills, 6 teams sitting there at 7-6. The Chargers, Raiders, Jets, and Titans are all at 5-8. Still technically in the playoffs, but they're not going to make it. Patriots, only team eliminated in the AFC. Can't believe how competitive the NFL this year. Part of it has to do with all the injuries that we've seen, especially at the quarterback position, but some real parity. There are the top teams that we have, like the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Ravens. Is that probably it? Then there's that second class where the Detroit Lions are, the Miami Dolphins in that second class. Kansas City Chiefs could go in either tier, honestly, but either way, it is going to be a wild finish down the stretch. The Vikings are hoping that Justin Jefferson can play for them, carry them to the playoffs. He leaves early with a chest injury. He is day-to-day, so I don't expect him to play this week, but Justin Jefferson not necessarily out for the rest of the fantasy football playoffs, if he even made the fantasy football playoffs after his performance leaving early. But whoever is catching passes or throwing to Justin Jefferson, Nick Mullins going to be the guy if Justin Jefferson is there. Nick Mullins, the 4th starting quarterback of the year for the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, Kirk Cousins was 1. Jaron Hall got the start, number 2. Suffered a concussion, which led to Josh Dobbs taking over in that game and starting number 3. And now we get Nick Mullins as starter. Vikings are done with Josh Dobbs. The roller coaster started so fun, ended so terribly. The Steelers are going to be without Kenny Pickett. He is out another game after undergoing ankle surgery. I don't expect him to play this week. Really don't expect him to play next week. They say it's a 2 to 4 week injury after undergoing surgery on his ankle for a high ankle sprain. So even if he comes back early, still not going to be healthy. We also have CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud could miss this game. He's in concussion protocol. Now, early in the season, everyone who entered concussion protocol, they were going to be out the next week. Now, as the season progresses, we're seeing more and more players clear concussion protocol early. We saw it with Chris Olave. We saw it with Derek Carr. Now, I don't know. Maybe NFL teams are just being more bold. I don't know. But CJ Stroud currently in concussion protocol. We will see if he plays on Sunday. Nico Collins also dealing with a knee injury. So John Mechie, Robert Woods become the wide receiver 1 and 2. Josh Jacobs dealing with a quad injury for the Las Vegas Raiders. Doesn't look like he's going to play on Thursday against the Chargers, who are going to be without Justin Herbert. And as it stands right now, it's going to be Zamir White, Amir Abdullah, and Brandon Bolden. Those are going to be the 3 running backs. The Raiders always have 4 running backs on their active roster because Brandon Bolden is a special teamer as well as a running back. Now, they're just going to have the 3 running backs. So Zamir White going to be the between the tackles runner, Amir Abdullah going to be the satellite back, and Brandon Bolden going to be RB3 still on special teams. Bad news for the Lions. Taylor Decker, their left tackle, dealing with a back injury, and their center, Frank Ragnow, limited, though he could be returning in short order. But the Lions, just so many injuries along the offensive line. The Lions are looking at starting their 10th their 10th different offensive line in 15 games. They're already at 9 in 14 games. Just insane the amount of injuries the Lions have dealt with on the offensive line. Ravens dealing with injury. Kyle Hamilton suffered a grade 1 MCL sprain, so he is week to week. Then they change it to day to day. Either way, it is good news. The fear was Kyle Hamilton tore his ACL, suffered a season-ending injury. Probably done for the rest of the regular season, but looks like he could return for the playoffs. Probably a 4 to 6 week injury for Kyle Hamilton. Devin Duvernay headed to injured reserve with a back injury, so Ravens taking some hits. And with Devin Duvernay going to injured reserve, the Ravens signed Malik Cunningham off the Patriots practice squad. Going to be the new Tyler Huntley, or at least in short order. They're going to ease him into it. Maybe they have him play some wide receiver too, but I have no doubt in my mind Malik Cunningham is going to be the long-term backup to Lamar Jackson over the next couple of years. Louisville connection and all. Lamar Jackson, by the way, 15-3 as a starter in December now. Lamar Jackson is damn good. The Saints, I don't know what's going on with the Saints. Derek Carr clears concussion protocol. He plays the game, is terrible in the game, but Derek Carr survives another week. Tells the media that he has 3 different rib fractures from 3 separate incidences throughout the season. Derek Carr has just been taking a beating over and over and over again. Concussion, shoulder, 3 different rib breaks. Derek Carr, I understand you're insecure because you're worried that Jameis Winston's going to take over and be better than you. Come on, man. You're not doing yourself any favors. You're not doing the team any favors. Derek Carr, looking like he might be one and done with the New Orleans Saints, honestly. Maybe the Saints embrace the rebuild, but it sounds like the team has not warmed up to Derek Carr's leadership style. We saw him fighting with center Eric McCoy. Eric McCoy blows up on Derek Carr. And it doesn't look like Derek Carr is going to be there for the long run with the Saints. They just need to blow it all up. Stop kicking the salary cap can down the road and just rebuild. Maybe they do it. Maybe Derek Carr finally shut down for the season. Maybe we see some Jameis Winston. We will see. As for Aaron Rodgers, TMZ reports that Aaron Rodgers is expected to be medically cleared ahead of the December 24th matchup with the Washington Commanders. Whew! If Aaron Rodgers really does return this season, even if the Jets, they're still in playoffs, but they're pretty much eliminated from the playoffs. Whew. The media, the drama, the excitement, it's going to be insane. Robert Saleh, by the way, has no idea if Aaron Rodgers is going to play, will not confirm the report by TMZ. And really, even if Aaron Rodgers is clear, doesn't mean that Robert Saleh has to play him. But let's be honest, Aaron Rodgers runs the New York Jets. It's not Robert Saleh. It's not general manager Joe Douglas. It is Aaron Rodgers. As for the Arizona Cardinals, Hollywood Brown feeling a lot better coming off the bye, dealing with a heel injury. Looks like he's going to be good to go once again. Michael Wilson should practice in some capacity this week. That doesn't give me hope that we're going to see Michael Wilson return. He's been dealing with a shoulder injury. Hopefully we'll see him in short order. As for Kyler Murray, the Arizona Cardinals have 2 first-round picks, but they've started to play better. They're starting to play their way out of Drake May. They already played their way out of Caleb Williams. The Bears are going to have the opportunity to draft Caleb Williams and probably do. I know Justin Fields has been playing very well as of late, and I could be eating my words if they go on a run here. But I think the Bears still end up taking Caleb Williams. So number 2, Drake May probably going to the New England Patriots. And the Cardinals are preparing for that. The offensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals going on talking to Adam Schefter saying that, Kyler Murray's the franchise quarterback and a damn good one at that. So I think Kyler Murray really might be back with the Arizona Cardinals after all of the speculation, all of the rumors. Looks like Kyler Murray is going to be back in Arizona, unless the Cardinals take a shot on drafting a Jaden Daniels, the quarterback 3 in this class, Michael Penix. But what's the point of that when you've already got Kyler Murray, and moving on from him is going to be a massive, massive cap hit. So I think Kyler Murray's back. Jonathan Taylor expected to be back at some point during this season, though we don't know when. We don't know if he'll be back this week, but he'll be back. At least that's what they're saying. So we'll see. It looks like you're going to be without Jonathan Taylor at least round 1 of the fantasy football playoffs. Maybe you get him back week 2. Week 3, fantasy football championship. I think you'll probably have Jonathan Taylor back for that. But Zach Moss very well could get you there. Anyways, rest of the NFL news and notes. Looks like we're going to have a matchup in Brazil. In 2024, the NFL is looking into having a game in Brazil. NFL just expanding all around the world. Absolutely love it. Love to see it. Cleveland Browns, Joe Flacco is now back to the practice squad. Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback for the Browns. He goes back to the practice squad for now. The Browns are going to elevate him again, which will mean they'll have to sign him to the active roster because he's a starter for the rest of the season. You only can activate guys off the practice squad 3 times. But Joe Flacco doesn't want to sign anywhere else. He's not going to get the opportunity he has with the Browns and the chemistry that he's already built up with the Cleveland Browns and Elijah Moore and David Njoku. So could Joe Flacco end up leading the Cleveland Browns to a win in the playoffs? It's going to be tough. It's going to be absolutely tough. He's going to be without his right tackle. DeJuan Jones is done for the season, underwent knee surgery, done for the year. And his left tackle, Jedrick Wills, they were hoping he could come back at some point, has surgery on his knee. He is also done for the season. So it's going to be a battle for Joe Flacco. His defense is going to have to do a lot of work, a defense that just re-signed Grant Delpit to a 3-year extension worth $36 million, to former LSU safety who has been balling this season. It's going to take a lot of work from this defense. The way Joe Flacco is playing, even behind a battered offensive line, Browns could get a playoff win with Joe Flacco, who is, at 38 years old, better than Deshaun Watson.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.